Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Oh, God, that's better. All right, afternoon, people. Hope everyone's good. Haven't been on for a while. Been busy, to say the least. Went down coast with my wife for a bit, and one thing I could tell you, it was bloody wet down there. So, this England team, I know a lot of people have been on, give their opinions or whatever, so I thought, you know what, I'll just give mine. Random, as usual. But that England team, on a bit of paper, to me, that was pretty solid. I think about the only thing I was actually worried about there was probably Stones, and that was how fit he was, if he was. Because he really hasn't done that much this season for Man City, considering like a few injuries he's had. But apart from that, we all know England's weak spot is its defence. But the strange thing was that I personally thought about that game. It was almost like watching Spurs play. It was. Dominated it in the midfield for the first 20 minutes, half hour, I'd say. Made chances, even scored a goal. And then what happened? It was like we let them back into the game. We stepped down a gear. England came off the ball. Serbia said, thank you. We'll take advantage of that. But at half time, still steady. Even though Serbia had sort of started to take control of the game. And then that second half, well, it had Spurs written all over it. We got totally battered that second half as far as I'm concerned. And we are very lucky that that did not turn into a 1-1 or even 2-1 loss. But on the positive side of it, we won the game. And that's what matters. It's a tournament. You need to win your games. But what's wrong with that team? couple of things just don't seem right in it for me. When I looked in it in the day, again, the only thing I was really worried about was Stones, whether he was going to be fit enough. The rest of it, I thought, do you know what, Southgate? You might have a good idea here. I mean, for me, he was playing a 4-2-3-1. And yeah, but no, something don't work there. And I think to a lot of people, it's quite obvious what it was. So I'm going to say hello to a few people on the side and then get to my points on it. So, Lily White Lane, big up, Dan, big up to you too, mate. Hope you're doing well. And Code to the Fourth, sack him now. I think you mean Southgate, obviously. I'll get to the Southgate point. Definitely not my first choice manager. And definitely for the type of players we got, I don't think he knows quite what to do with him because he hasn't got an attacking mentality. That is Southgate's biggest problem. And we've got a team of possibly the best attacking force in the world. I mean, the only ones who can even sort of touch us in that aspect is France. But Griezmann's a bit past it. I wouldn't say past it, but definitely getting on. And Mbappe, with his busted nose, that was a bad old break, wasn't it? He should have double broke that on the pitch when that happened. I mean, I've had that happen once and it was down one side, and you know you've got to crack that back in place, otherwise that looks funny for the rest of your life. But that was a broken nose. But Mbappe is obviously their main threat up front. But we have got players in that midfield and up front who can score goals for fun almost. But it just don't seem to match Southgate, does it? Dale Denton, can't watch England. They just a carbon copy of Spurs. The comparable is very scary. It's everything I just said, mate, isn't it? It was actually quite shocking. It was actually like watching Spurs play in some ways, which is very scary. And Charlie, big up to you, mate. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope everything's doing well. Hope your exams are going well. You keep on with them, mate. You'll do well. Good to see you. Anthony Clark, AFC, big up, Dan. Hope you're good, mate. I'm perfectly fine. Hope you're good as too. Destiny, big up to you too, mate. Bertie Hotspur, big up everyone. Smash a like, subscribe. Thank you. And we want our Tottenham glory days back. Levy out. Rich, big up, Dan. LTL Cockerel. Afternoon, Dan. Afternoon, Dan. Now that everyone's played once, who are you most impressed with? I must admit, the ones who really did impress me the other day was Romania. And that's another point I'm going to get to. Seriously, they totally dominated Ukraine. And Ukraine ain't no mugs. I don't think there's no real team out here that you can say are mugs. There's obviously the ones who are up for the favourites, Portugal, Spain, France, England, everything else and that. But there's some other teams in there you're going to have to seriously keep your eyes on. And I think Romania definitely showed what they're worthy of. But they definitely impressed me the other night. Their style of play, everything, they was with it. And that's another point I'm going to get to. So, Wayne, good afternoon. Dan, good afternoon to you too. And yep, coffee, as always, mate, is needed at this time. Ryan Mace, afternoon, Dan and chat. Afternoon to you too, mate. Hope everything's good. All right. Destiny 5, Drăgușin showed. Let me start again. Sorry. Drăgușin showed Spurs should play 3 at the back. Yes, he has. That is a point I'm going to get to. And Philly2109, big up Danny and the magnificent chat. Big up to you too. Lily White, so much attacking quality. Played in a defensive system by a yes-man manager who sits back after scoring 1 but doesn't have a plan B when we concede. It's got Spurs written all over it. Again, the only thing is we don't sit back. But it is quite shocking to the similarities to Tottenham on here. And Wayne again, the strange thing will be if PEH or Christian Eriksen score on Thursday. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. And Mark, big up Dan, big up to you too. Destiny 5, Southgate has no tactical prowess. No, I don't think he has either. He is the wrong man. FCB Elite, McAnini to Spurs. No, thank you. No. I follow enough of the Italian leagues. No, he's not a player we need at Tottenham from Juve. No, he is not. Personal opinion, no. There's better in the Premiership. But personally, I would rather take Conor Gallagher. Mate, he's not solid. Not in my opinion. Dave, big up Danny. I'm live from Lowestoft this afternoon. In spirit, if not person. Do one, mate. But anyway, I hope you're having a good day, fella. El Tocoreo, Spain dominated and called Croatia a lesson. Yes, they did. Spain did very well as well. But like I said, for me, Spain you expect to do good. I mean, they're up and coming now. Their young boys are starting to take pace. I mean, obviously, they're not the team they were 10 years ago, but it's starting to take shape. It's starting to rebuild now. And yes, they play very well. But again, for me, the way Romania absolutely dominated Ukraine was impressive. And Scott, big up to all the coys, big up to you too, mate. Philly 2109. I am impressed with Turkey. When you hear Spurs using the excuse of being young for at 23, Gula is 19 and ripping the Euros apart with one of the goals of the tournament. Yep. And I can't even pronounce your name there. Surly Agent, I call you. Turkey had 2 teenagers on the pitch. Yep. You don't change your system to fit in one player, Ed M. Well, this is a point. This is where England have got a big problem that we need to sort out. Big problem. That we don't make the same mistake that we did about 10, 15 years ago. Destiny 5. Reports on McKenzie have been rubbish by Spurs. It's just rumours. Please just be rubbish, man. I just don't rate the fella at all. He is. I really don't. But again, I mean, if someone wants to call that negative, go and watch a couple of games he's played for Juventus. Let Aston Villa have him or whoever else after him and that, mate. Just do not go for it. And Eltel Cockerell, Sain had 2 teenagers on the pitch, Lamo and Pedri, and a 21-year-old, Nico Williams. Yep. Destiny 5. Can't see Spain winning with Morata up front, to be honest. No, but they're very good. And LTL Cockerell, Destiny, watch this space with Destiny having a laugh. Right. I sound low to most of the people on the side. So since a few people have mentioned it, Romania totally dominated Ukraine. A man of the match was our man, Drăgușin. I think in that game, he just showed everybody why Spurs got him. And for 25 million was a steal. I'd only seen him play once before at Genoa against Inter Milan. And that was literally 2 weeks before we went for him. That is the only reason I had seen or knew anything about the man. And he looked solid in that game. That game against Romania, he got man of the match, rated a 9 from what I saw. And he was pure quality with the ball going up the pitch from defence. And in a way, it shows how Tottenham could be definitely better off playing with 5 at the back, 3 at the back, play a 3-5 or play a 5-3, whatever way you wish to do it. But it definitely shows how Drăgușin, Romero, and Van der Ven would look solid as a back 3. But let's not get Tottenham too into this. But it's going to be hard not to in some ways, because this is very Spurs related in a lot of ways. There's just so much similarity to this that is shocking. It's almost scary. I mean, by that first half, I mean, at one point we had something like 75, 80% possession. And we was just all over them for 30 minutes. And we created chances where we should have scored more goals. And don't get me wrong, Great goal by Bellingham, the way he come in for that header. And you can just see the man is a machine. Simple as. If I'm even going to relate him to a player, I mean, he's a big fella. He definitely looks hench. Ain't small. He reminds me of a bit of a Dembele that we had at Spurs. The difference is he can actually get forward and score, which Dembele never could. He could always get forward, but he could never score. But the way he is on his feet, he does remind me of Dembele. I mean, I don't know what anyone else thinks of that, but he really does. He's hard to get off the ball. He's good on the ball. He's got a good shot. He's got a good header. He's just a solid player. Perfect for what you need as a number 10, basically. But that's where we had another problem that needs to be fixed. I mean, by the end of the game, it was 53. I don't count the point ones, this and that. So rounding it off, it was 53 possession to England, 47% Serbia. Shot-wise, we had 6 and 1 on target. That's not good. And from what I read, Romania had 5 with 3 on target. Again, not good. Passing, ours was 87%. Serbia was 90%. Again, Serbia were the better passers. They completed more. And corners-wise, there's probably lack of corners in that game on both sides. I think, what was it? Serbia had 1 and England had 2. I mean, did we even get a corner before the second half? I can't remember. But where do I go to? I'm seeing a real problem up front that we need to be fixed, and a player might need to be dropped. A player that I really would not want to drop, who I think could be man of the tournament. But I'll go through the players just on, again, purely opinion, this one. Pickford, he did what he had to do. He was there when he was needed, made a brilliant save. And, I mean, it was an excellent save that he made from Vlahovic. Total quality. And for me, Pickford is a very underrated goalkeeper. I do prefer Nick Pope overall as a goalkeeper, but I think I do prefer Nick Pope over Pickford overall. But I think Pickford is a very underrated goalkeeper. And if he wasn't at Everton, I think he'd get a lot more praise as such. But for England, you can't fault the man. He's always done brilliant. I can't really think of a particular bad game that he's actually had. So I'll go give him a 7 because he really did not have that much to do as such. I mean, Walker, what a game. I thought he had an excellent game. Covered us at the back when needed. Also came central when needed. Up the wings. Had a good shot. Had a chance. Created a chance. I think Walker had a brilliant game. Really did. And one thing we all know about Walker is, even though he's getting older now, he's still got that pace. He might not be quite as quick as Van der Ven, but he's nowhere. He's nowhere on his young one anymore, is he? I mean, he's 33, coming on 34, and I thought Walker was outstanding. And one thing we all know about Walker is, if we play France and Walker plays how he can, I mean, in the last game, he basically put Mbappe in his back pocket and just said, thank you. Is he still capable of doing that? We'll only see if we play France. But for me, Walker's got to get an 8. I thought he was brilliant. He had an absolute solid game. I mean, out of a couple of others, for me, I think he was one of the best we had on the pitch. Not necessarily better ones, but one of the best we had on the pitch. Stones, you could see, for me, you could see he looked a bit rusty at times. You could see he was lacking a bit of match time. But I think Stones overall, bar 1 or 2 little mistakes he made, I think he had a solid game. Solid enough. I mean, we know he can do better. So how do you rate a player when you know they can do better? For me, I give him 6. And the reason I do give him a 6 is because I know he can do considerably better. And there were a couple of times where he did just look a bit shaky. But I thought overall he had an all-out good game. The defender that really done it for me was that Crystal Palace one, however you pronounce his name, Guez, whatever. For me, he gets an 8 all day long. I don't think he made a single mistake. I think he covered Stones really well. I think he covered the back really well. I think excellent game. I think he had a brilliant game. So for me, I give him an 8. And I think that's his first actual game on a big show as such, isn't it? On a big tournament. So again, can't fault the player. Then we go to Trippier. Tricky one for me, that one. He was on his wrong side because he has to cover Luke Shaw. I mean, I think Luke Shaw's crap anyway. The only reason we even pick him for the England team is because he's got a left foot. I don't rate Luke Shaw. I mean, 9 years at Man U. Hasn't got that many games considering that over the 9 years. Been told he's had to lose weight several times. And but Trippier was a tricky one. I thought he covered Foden when Foden drifted in very well. But coming back with the ball, getting the ball up forward as well, you could see he always had to do basically what Kulusevski has to do. Kulusevski always has to knock it onto his left foot to get the best out of it. And that is the same as Trippier. Which definitely makes it harder for us. Because they can just get on the right side of him then because they know he's got to knock it onto his right foot. And in that aspect, he's almost predictable. Like a Kulusevski. Because you know that he's got to knock it onto his main foot to get that cross in there or to get that shot or to get that pass. Because on his left foot, Trippier just doesn't look safe. Not to me. And it's exactly the same with Kulusevski on his right foot. Same story. Just different positions. So I think that is going to be a problem we do see in this tournament. Our left back. Because that is going to be a weak spot that others will pick up on. It's not that I don't rate Trippier as a player. I think he's an excellent player. And I think Spurs are absolute dickheads for selling him. But that was meant to be something personal that happened there, whatever. Several stories to it. Who knows? But getting rid of him, for me, was not a good idea. So Philly 2109. What a Drăgușin is his mentality. He loves defending. When I saw him celebrating his clearance against Manchester City, I knew there was something there. For Romania, I saw it again. Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Again, that game he had Romania, he had a nigh on perfect game. And that's very rare you see that off a player. Even someone who gets a hat trick doesn't mean they've had a perfect game because they could have missed 2 or 3 chances that should have gone in the net as well. He was absolutely solid, and it's proven. We'll see how he does through the rest of the tournament. But I think there's a big proof why we got him. And Philly 2109 again. Yep, I think you've just what a player Drăgușin celebrating tackles and defensive clearances like for City, for Romania. He was immense, and he was. If Spurs don't get their act together and genuinely complete, he will be gone. He's gonna. I think next season you're going to see a lot more game time off him. Hopefully, with Postecoglou, he was just giving him time to settle down in his new area and everything and that, and play him a couple of games. I mean, he looks shady for 1 or 2 games he played, but overall, I thought he played well for us when Drăgușin did play. And again, for Romania the other night, he literally looks perfect, and it just screams for free at the back for us now. But we all know Postecoglou wouldn't do that. But I think he's brilliant. I won't even say cover. I think he's that good. he can fight Romero for his place. And I know everyone goes on how world-class Romero is. He's a solid, brilliant player. Not quite world-class yet for me, but brilliant player. But I think Drăgușin has got all the qualities to come up a bit if we manage to hang on to both of them. That is the question of being able to fight Romero for his place. But we can't just go on one game. But again, for that game, for Romania against Ukraine, he was literally perfect. Destiny 5. I get one of those mugs every Christmas from someone different every year. Got like 10 now. Yeah, I think, no, this is the only big Spurs mug I've got. The rest of them are significantly smaller cups, mugs, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, that's why I just make that one. It stops me having to make 2 bloody coffees. And Anthony Clark, Harry Kane. Harry Kane was not assistant in the game. He only had 1 shot on goal in the entire game. Yeah, but he nearly scored that header. The thing is with a striker, yeah, in the whole game, the way I see it, yeah, whether it's for Spurs, whether it's for Man U, whether it's for Man City, whether it's for England, Italy, whether it's for any team, the only one that is allowed to go missing for 89 minutes is the striker. The striker can disappear. He's almost allowed to do it. He can do nothing through the whole game. As long as he scores on that chance that he gets, everyone's happy with him. He's the only one that can afford to do that. But I'll go to Harry Kane in a minute once I've read out a couple for you. I mean, yeah, strange one for Kane, that was. Very much. Philly 109. I felt Stones allowed the ball to bounce around the area. He did. He was a bit shady. That's why I said he had to be a 6. We know he's a lot better. But I do think that's also coming back from injuries and everything else. And Philly 2109 again says, I feel England defence should be Gure. I pronounce his name, it's terrible. And Tamari. Even if if Luke Shaw is fit during the tournament, he will never get match fit as he has been missing since February. Yeah, I agree. He's only there because he's left-footed. And Alex, how we doing, mate? Hope everything's good. Great, Dan. If he had a great game, makes Ange look stupid not playing him. But when he's trying to get in there with 2 at the back and you've got Romero and Van der Ven there, it's a very tricky situation. This, to me, Alex, mate, is why a back 3 or back 5, whatever you want to call it, looks better for the team we've got. And this is why I've had this debate so many times that Conte's system would suit this team 10 times better. But again, I'm not going to go into it. But Alex, you're right. You are right. But getting in for Romero and Van der Ven is not going to be an easy job for him. Mark Cook, big up Dan and all the chat. Big up to you too. And Mr. Box Office. Also reading off his stats mean nothing. Watching the game, you can see how good England are. Or how good they're not. It's one or the other. And Ben, how you doing, mate? I hope everything's good for you. Afternoon, everyone. Now, yeah, you can see how good England are, but it also showed how broken we are in some aspects. But I think it is more than fixable. So I'll go back to the players that I was saying. Trippier, I think, is a problem there because he is right-footed on the left-hand side, but you cannot blame him. It's going to be a position we really have to watch. Like when Tottenham had to stick Chicken Royale on the left or Davis on the left, or it's going to be an awkward spot for us, definitely. Now we go to my man, who I personally think is going to be England's man of the tournament. For me, people get man of the tournament, man of the match and everything too easy just because they scored a bloody goal. Goal means everything. Yes, I agree. But I feel too many times defenders and defensive midfielders and that, goalkeepers even, they don't get looked at. But if that midfielder scores the goal when he's had a crap game, or that striker scores a goal when he's had a crap game, bang, man of the match, everything. I feel defensive midfielders as a whole and goalkeepers just they don't get enough credit for what they actually do for our game, for a game, full stop. But Declan Rice, for me, he was our man of the match. For me. He played solid at the back, covered the back when was needed, also got forward a little bit when needed. But for me, I think Southgate played him as that defensive midfielder, as more of the anchor man. And he did his job brilliant. He covered it when needed, passed it when needed. He was there everywhere when you needed him. Solid performance from him. For me, I give him a 9. He was my man of the match. I personally think he had a better game than Bellingham. I know others are going to disagree. Bellingham got a goal, this and that, but this is my point. For me, you shouldn't have to get a goal to be man of the match. Rice, I will say it again, solid. Absolutely solid. And he's definitely got England captain material written all over him. But then he's going to have a bit of competition for people that have got more of a personality than him, should I say. But yeah, absolutely excellent. We need him every game, and I think he's going to be our man of the tournament. But I don't think he'll get the due credit because he's not going to be the one scoring the goals. Trent in the middle. Here we go. I thought it was a good call by Southgate, personally. I know Liverpool have done it, 2 or 3 times, and he's looked pretty good. But wow, what a pile of crap that was. Apart from the first 5 minutes, I thought Trent in the middle was absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. His passing was poor. He couldn't seem to get his head up and look where anybody was. He didn't seem to get around the pitch much. Yes, he got up forward a few times. And I think one of the main mistakes that was made there is he was played as what I didn't want him to be played as, was a box-to-box man. Basically, the one who goes forward and also comes back to cover the DM, where at times we had 2 DMs sitting there with Rice and Trent. And one thing, pardon me, everybody can say that they know, whether you're a Liverpool supporter, Spurs supporter, whatever, Trent can't defend. He couldn't defend for his family. He couldn't defend come love nor money. He can't do it. It is not his good point. So we play him as the box-to-box man to come back and defend and help Rice. It weren't going to work. Never. Now, if we would have played him as more of a deep-line playmaker and just left Rice there for the anchorman job, I think we would have seen more out of him. But for me, Trent's got to get a 4. I thought he was that poor. Maybe it was just the way he was told to play and everything, but it just really, really did not look good. So I was glad that we brought him off. And personally, I think he should have been brought off a bit earlier. Because, yeah, Trent, I mean, even the odd free kick that he took just did not get into that game in any means or manner for me. So again, a couple of people on the side. Alex, yes, agreed, Dan. England are not great to watch. They're scary to watch, aren't they? Again, it's like Spurs watching. Brian, how we doing, mate? Hope everything's good for you. Big up, brother Dan, and everyone who's on the chat. Hope you're well. And everyone, smash the like for great content Dan is putting out. Thank you very much, mate. If you or Alex wish to come on, just put the message there and I'll send you the link. It's not a problem. And yeah, like I said, Trent, it's an easy, for me, that's an easy one to fix. It is. We've got other players that can cover that position easy. But if they're going to have to play a box-to-box and defend as well, then that could be our very awkward point. So we go to Bellingham. Great game, especially the first half. First half, he looked absolutely brilliant. Going forward, the power on his feet, the amount of fouls he got. I mean, they just kept having to basically take him away. They just had to keep taking him out because he just kept steaming through people. And I thought he had a brilliant game. That header he scored, excellent. You couldn't ask for better. But second half, he did drift off a little bit. But I think that came down to the fact where the whole team drifted off and we got bullied by Serbia, totally bullied physically. Because physically, Serbia, one thing England isn't is physical. Again, like Tottenham. And Serbia, I think their shortest player was about 5'10", 5'11", and the rest of them all about 6'2", 6'3". They looked like a bunch of animals on us in the second half and just absolutely physically bullied us that second half. Outpassed us, outplayed us in every way in that second half. And they got very physical and we didn't like it. And England started sitting back, and I think that's what took a bit of the game off Bellingham. He couldn't get forward when he needed to, because he was having to cover the back with everyone else. But I'll give Bellingham an A. Overall, I think he had a good game. He was definitely better when he looked like he could get up front, but he definitely covered the back good as well when he had to come back. So for me, he gets an A. Now I get to a very tricky one for me, yeah? Saka. And no, this is not wearing a Spurs hat or nothing else. Saka, for me, in that first half, he gets a 9. In that first half, he was electric. He was brilliant. The amount of times he made it past his player, got round his player, outsped him, outskilled him, got the crosses in, got the passes in, got in places he needed to be. Saka was excellent in that first half. In that first half, I'd say he was probably our best player. I mean, all right, Bellingham did everything I said, but I think overall Saka was probably the best player on the pitch in the first half. In the second half, he got dominated. They started saying, okay, Saka, we're quick on your toes. We know you are. We'll do what we do. We'll do what everyone in the Premier League does to you. We will take your legs off. And that is what they did. And then next thing you know, he couldn't get past his man. Next thing you know, he couldn't dribble around his man. Next thing you know, he was losing it. Next thing you know, he was finding it hard to get the ball. Why? Because he got physically bullied into the game in the second half. I reckon that Serbian manager sat back and said, do you know what? Take his legs. He's too quick. He's too good on the ball for you. Just take him out. Bully him. Take his legs off him. That's exactly what they do to him in the Premiership. And that is exactly what Serbia did. I mean, for that first half, like I said, I personally think he was the best player on the pitch. Second half, he just got bullied out of the game. And you can't even say it was his fault. He's not a physical player. I mean, look at him. He's half the size of me, for God's sake. There's nothing of him in that way, in a physicality way. But his speed, skill on the ball, dribbling and everything makes up for everything. But yeah, the way he got muscled out was... It happens, and you cannot blame Saka for that. So I can't go giving him a 9 like the first half. I'm going to have to go with in between here and give him a 7. I mean, with the way he was in the second half, you could even give him a 5 because of the way he just got totally taken out of the game. But because of his first half performance, and he really did try in that second half, I'll give him a 7. He had a good game. But like I said, that second half, he did just get totally torn to pieces. Philly 2109. Walton and Mano should have been banging on Southgate and asking. He brought them to Germany, and then on the right side player Trent Alexander in their position. God, pardon me. Proper chest this morning. That is where I think in the next game we need to put someone in Trent's position. We need to change that. But the question is, who do we put there and what do we put them there for? These are parts I'm going to get to. Stefan Thomas, all the midfielders you have, and he puts a fullback in the position. Yes, I agree. But for me, it was a good try. It was a good idea. Because passing, crossing, getting forward and that, we all know Trent is quality at it. For me, there's similarities to Porro with him. Because I don't think Porro can defend for shit. Now and again, he gets in front of the ball, blocks it now and again, same as Trent. But we all know the strong points of both players is getting forward, getting that ball in there. Good pass, good cross, good free kick. Very similar players. Not saying I personally think Trent is the overall better right wing back than Porro, but it's not by a million miles. And neither of them can defend come love nor money. And like I said earlier, I just thought putting Trent there was not a bad idea. It just didn't work. So don't do it again. And Amy, good morning, England. Good morning. Morning to you. England misses Jack Grealish. And Jackie, hello, Dan. Hello to you too. And yes, Grealish was one I think we are definitely going to miss. And three for all. If we're honest, only Bellingham world class. I disagree with that one. Harry Kane is world class, like it or not. He is world class. He might not have won the trophies, but he's still a world class player. If we're honest, Bellingham is the only world class. Foden lacks mental strength and isn't a confidence player, but could be world class. Kane has peaked. The rest are overhyped at Southgate. Kane, it's like in Germany, he did nothing wrong. It's just that Munich team did not stand up to standards. He done everything a striker was meant to do out there. I mean, and how can you go to Germany with Munich and not win it? That's another story. But no, Kane is world class. He is the best striker, most complete striker on this planet. No two ways about it. No ifs, no buts. The only thing you could grill the man on is he hasn't won nothing. But Bellingham and Kane are two world-class players on there. Foden is absolutely quality as well, and he was my pick for possible, like, the man we got to really watch out, the man who can really do something. And Amy, big up to you. Sorry, but Phil Foden is underwhelming. That is a point I will get to in a minute. And Philly 2109, Saka is a good player, but when he drifts out the game and becomes non-effective, then he will start hobbling and pretend he's injured. Happens. Mike, how we doing, mate? Hope everything's good for you. I put Jude in the box-to-box, put Foden where Jude is, and put some on the left. Yeah, that's what I'm going to get to, mate. I agree. Philly 2109, playing Trent in the midfield should be tried in the friendlies against Iceland. Yes, it should have. Vindaloo, big up, Dan. Big up to you too, mate. Good Arsenal supporter there. Very few and far between, I understand. But always have a good, fair opinion. And Ben, what you saying on here? Love how arrogant Bellingham is at 20. Even muscling people more senior than him about. Let's see his feet do the talking. Like I said, got very big similarities to Dembele, except he can actually score. And Andy Clark, it would be fantastic if Harry Kane's first trophy was at the Euros. It'd be fantastic if he got a bloody trophy. Come love no money. So right, I'll go to my next man here. Foden. Well, what a mess that was. I don't think that was just down to him. I think that was down to the way we played. Now, I thought Foden on the left could be a good idea. Play him as a playmaker up there. You know, drift about, do what you want, do what you got to do. A couple of times like Maddison has for Leicester on the left, on the right, or like Southgate's even done it on the left for him when he has played for England. I thought it was a good idea. No. We have a problem now, and I will come to that problem in a minute. Kane, I mean, like I said, Foden, for me, it's a 4. He was ineffective. He tried, but trying don't win you games. He tried to get into positions. He tried to do things, but just nothing worked for the boy on the day. Absolutely nothing. And for me, he was as ineffective as Trent. I mean, you could even say Foden was that bad if you want to go by his standards. He was a 3. He wasn't good, was he? It didn't work for the poor fella. And I go to Kane, and I give him a 5. One good chance on goal with a header, which should have been a goal. And this is where the problem starts for me. Let me just do the subs. Gallagher, I give him a 6 when he come on. He did his job a lot better back to back than Trent did. Nothing special in the game, but he was effective at what he did. He was able to come back and make it 2 defensive midfielders going with Declan Rice, and he was able to go forward as well. Nothing special, nothing great, not a player you look at and say, wow. But you can come on, you can say he was effective and he was better than Trent. Okay, not particularly hard. But he was effective, he did his job. Now, the one who really did impress me when he came on was Bowen. He did exactly what Saka couldn't do in the second half. And that was muscle with his man, fight with his man, fight for the ball, fight while he's on the ball, off the ball. That is why Saka had to come off, because they turned a lot more physical. And when Bowen came on, I thought he was brilliant. Okay, might not have got many crosses in, might not have got shots in or whatever, got a couple of passes through, but he did exactly what Saka could not do in that second half. And he fought with them. He had a fight with them Serbians. He really took it to them physically. And that was what we needed our winger to do. I mean, half the time, I think he spent it more in our own half than his half, coming back, covering the position as well. And I thought he had brilliant when he came on. I thought he was excellent. That is why he's a player I'd love to get at Spurs. But we all know that would never happen. Not for a long shot anyway. And I'll give him an 8. I mean, Gallagher, like I said, a 6. Bowen, I'll give him an 8 for when he came on. I know he didn't play that long and that, but for what he did on the pitch, when he came on the pitch, the way he muscled out with the Serbians, the way he had his fight with them and that, I think he had a brilliant game, like for when he came on. So I'll give him an 8. So with the players rated, where do the problems start? How is this fixable? Because this is fixable. We've got an excellent team out there. Now, I'm going to say something here that is dangerous to say. I'm trying not to go back to Spurs, but I keep relating this team to Tottenham, and it is true. You know what? Get Postecoglou in charge of Spurs at the moment, in charge of England at the moment. Dominate the ball in midfield, get the ball forward, get the passes forward, get it to the man, put it in the back of the net. Stuff the defence. Just do what you got to do if you can. And even if he has to say it, you score 3, we score 4, we're more than capable of doing it. I think Postecoglou's style actually would suit England. It sounds almost comical because I pretty much ripped into his style all season long, saying that the Premiership's too good for it and everything and that. And especially down to the players we got. But this is only a tool. I say only. It's only 7 games, 8 games, whatever the tournament is. And I personally think Postecoglou's attacking style would suit this England team a lot better than Southgate. I know it sounds crazy. It almost sounds like I'm contradicting myself because I've said all season how I just think the Premiership is too good to play that way the whole way through the season, because I do. But this ain't a season. This is a cup. This is a competition. And with the attacking force we've got in there, midfield, up front, with our weakest spots being at the back, I honestly do believe that we've got the power in that midfield to dominate a midfield the way he would want to do it. I know it sounds crazy. It's just how I see it on that one. And Amy, too bad Maguire isn't in the squad. Do you know what? That is a strange one for me. Because I mean, in the Premiership, I do not rate Maguire at all. But bar maybe one game I can think of, you can't really fault him. You can't really fault Harry Maguire for England because he's been excellent. He's been really, really good every time he's played for us. He really has. I think he's always been one of our better defenders, if not the best. The style suits him more, the defensive style, because one thing the man can't do is run. And that's one thing our back two are not expected to do for England, and that is run up the pitch. They're expected to sit back like old school central defenders, like a John Terry. Now, I'm not saying he's nowhere near as good as John Terry, but similarities. Whereas if he was to try and play in a Postecoglou style, he'd get cooked. He wouldn't even make it up to the halfway line by the ball that came over to run back for it. He is that slow. I mean, when I say slow, I mean he is slower than Teddy Sheringham, and he was slow. But the thing about Teddy Sheringham as a striker, he was mentally fast, always 3-4 steps ahead of everyone. But Maguire should have been taken for me. Experience, playing in tournaments and that, and I think he's always been solid for England. So yeah, it's just that Man U. It's not that he doesn't even perform, which he doesn't. I just don't think the system suits him. And that shows how, I'm not saying he's a quality player or nothing, but Harry Maguire is a good player. He's a good defender, and he gets a lot of stick for reasonable reasons why he has poor games at Man U. But it does show how a system and the way you play can totally change a team. You go playing players out of position. Trent, your prime now, and Trippier. It just shows how it totally changes them, depending how universal they are as such. But it does change them. You go and play a player out of position, or you go and tell him to play a way that is not his best way of playing, i.e. Porro Udogie playing as inverted when they should be overlapping, it shows. And then you go and play them in their position, in the way they know how to play and what they're best at. It shows. And it shows with Maguire, with Man U, and England, as far as I'm concerned. So, with a guest here, Brian, how are we doing, mate?
I'm all right, buddy. I'm all right. How are you and everyone in the chat?
I'm all right, apart from going away with the missus for a few days over the seafront, which it was absolutely wet. And when I mean wet, I just don't mean wet on like because of the seafront. I mean wet where it was pissing down 24/7. So
yeah, I don't understand what language you're speaking. It's in the 30s here, so enjoying a mini heat wave as well at the weekend. So it's all good here.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going? Where by the sea are you going?
No, we went.
Oh, where did you go then? Where did you go?
Lowestoft.
Okay.
I know it's nowhere near what it was 10 years ago, but then not many seafront towns are anymore.
No.
It would have been a lot better if it weren't pissing down 24/7 over there. And then the only time it seemed to get warm is when my wife started driving us home in the car. And then it started to get warm.
That's about right. Yeah, like I said, my dad's side of the family all live in Southend, so I know exactly what the seafront can be like and what it is now. But yeah, I would send you some of the Canadian sun, but then we'd be losing it, and I don't want to lose it.
I mean, out there, I'm just stuck on what to do out the back at the moment because there's a job I've got to do out on the back patio, and that's jet wash it and that, and it just doesn't. It seems to get warm. Okay, get the gear out to do it, and then it starts raining, which I don't want when I'm doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is England. What you can say about England as a whole is England as a country is just Spurs. It's just unpredictable. In the way of you just don't know. But that's a different side of it and everything. And at the moment, it's starting to get warm. And this morning, it's been really cold. And then they say it's going to rain. And then do you know what? What a crap summer.
Yeah.
But
very quickly, is the great thing about Canada is we get all 4 seasons. So we get winter, and you know it's going to be an absolute bitch. But come summer, you know it's going to be absolutely. You literally have each one of the seasons, which makes it bearable. The winters, anyway.
I mean, over here you don't even get a winter anymore. It only starts snowing in like February or March or something. But right, let me go to a couple on side quick, and we'll go into it. Playing Trippier on the left done Foden no favours at all. I actually thought Trippier going up covered him quite well, but no, it didn't. On that left-hand side, we looked dead. On that right-hand side, we looked dangerous. Don't get me wrong, Foden was poor. Yes, he was. But having the left footer overlap him would have freed him space up. I agree. Vindaloo, sometimes great players don't perform in teams where they don't relate to the manager's style of play. Well, nobody knows Southgate's style of play, really. That's exactly what I was just saying, mate. You go and get players and play them out of position or not at what they're best at, or in the tactics or a style where they aren't, it is not up to their way of playing. It shows. And I think Harry Maguire, Brian, is one of the perfect ones it shows with. I'm not saying he's an excellent player, but for England, Maguire has been a solid defender.
Yeah, I go that. I mean, go on, sorry, Dan, you finish, mate.
But for the Man U tactics, it just don't work for him, purely because of the tactics.
Yeah, I mean, what I felt as well with, listen, I am a huge fan of Phil Foden. He's coming.
Yep, same.
He's coming for a brunt of it because of his performance on Sunday. But what I actually think the issue is once again, do you remember when we tried to fit Gerrard, Scholes, and Lampard in, and we just said, Scholes, you go on the left, which ruined him. Phil Foden is not a left-sided midfielder. He plays either on the right or a bit freer in the centre. I think Bellingham could easily do the 8. You put Foden in the centre, then you put Eze or someone on the left. Problem solved. Obviously, Gareth makes the decisions, but big up Anthony, big up everyone in the chat as well. But yeah, I think Phil Foden has come in. We love to, even at Spurs and all clubs, we love to, rather than praise the players that did well, they'll pick up on the player that had a poor game. And Phil Foden is the Premier League player of the season.
Yeah.
And he did not get that for playing on the left. But for some reason, we did it to Scholesy. And it's only been one game. We did it a lot with Scholesy. I just hope it was an experiment that went wrong. And against Denmark,
Trent in the middle.
Yeah, again, that's another thing. Listen, I love Trent Alexander. I absolutely adore. I think he's an incredible player. He's
very similar to Porro.
Exactly. And the way Klopp had him playing last season and dominating games from where he was right back and then advancing, he was incredible at that. Incredible. Yeah, we think we can all of a sudden in a major tournament just go, yeah, do you know what? Let's try you in the centre and see if it works. It's kind of like saying Harry Kane on corners.
It's like the fact of, for me, if they would have just played him in the middle and used him as a deep line playmaker, they could have got something out of him. It's like the same mistakes that Postecoglou's been making with certain players, playing them as a box-to-box to go forward and also defend and cover a double DM position with Rice. We all know that Trent can't defend for shit. Now, with what you said quickly, I'm going to come up on you because I've got it written down in front of me, yeah? You just basically took words out of my mouth. This England team, yeah, it is fixable. But Southgate's got to have the bollocks to do this, yeah? This England team has got Lampard Gerrard written all over it. Lampard Gerrard for me. I mean, because Scholes, yeah, I totally agree with that. But the biggest problem I felt that went on for longer as such was Lampard Gerrard.
Oh,
two world-class players. And they got to be in that team. And how do you put them in the team? The problem we had back then, there was no other really way you could get him in the team except what was we doing? At times we played Lampard out on the right. At times we played Gerrard out on the right. Just one way or another to get him in. This is where a good manager, a very good manager, a world-class manager comes in and says, do you know what? I know you're an excellent player. I know you're world-class, or I know you're this and that. But this system, no. This bit ain't going to work for you. Yeah. So I'm going to have to swap you with another player who can actually do that position better than you, even though he's not better than you, but cover the position better than you, and then twist and turn you with whoever else. This is where Southgate's now got to show that Southgate has got the bollocks to do what he's got to do to make this England team work and fix it. Because I don't think it's unfixable. It's a bit broken, but it's definitely fixable.
The way
Yes.
I do. Sorry, you finish. I thought you finished. Go finish off.
Yes, we want Foden. I mean, for me, Foden has to be in that team. So does Bellingham, whatever else. But if we want the best out of that team, we've got to swap with other players. We've got to work it round a little bit. And I've seen Foden cover the left for Man City quite a few times. Do the right, do the central. He can seem to do the lot, but left isn't his strongest point. And I do think that was Southgate just trying to make sure that he had Bellingham and Foden on the pitch at the same time. And it ain't going to work, is it?
It's not, but you look at it, the players we have on the bench. We saw Eze come on. Obviously, it was a friendly and play left wing and got man of the match. You've got Cole Palmer. You've got Jared Bowen. There are so many options there that is fixable. But one of the things that I think isn't fixable with England, and Gareth Southgate has to take a hell of a lot of responsibility for this, is I was just watching Sky Sports News this morning, and again, Luke Shaw hasn't trained. So it's like you've picked the left back that has hardly played all season due to injury.
9 months out.
Yeah, picked him, and then you haven't chosen another capable left back. You've then had to put a right back that can play left back rather than a left back. And like you said, not having another left footer may have really hindered Foden. So you're looking like that. And what I haven't got with everything is, yeah, don't get me wrong, the England game was bad. Out of all the games, I think it's probably the most boring one, especially the second half. The first half we played well.
The first 30 minutes.
But I'm like, do you know what? First game of the tournament, all I want is a win.
Yeah, which we got. And I'm happy.
Dan, you and me, with the one brief link I'll give this to Tottenham, you and I sit here and say, I would win like the Filth did with George Graham, 1-0 or Conte football to win a trophy. I would. If someone said Spurs win a trophy, but they play boring football, I'm taking it. And it's like the same thing. If someone said to me right now, England win the Euros, but it's not going to be the free-flowing counter-attack, whatever kind of brand of football you want to see, there'll be flashes like the 30 minutes we had, but it's not going to be a great watch. Will you take that? Absolutely. Cool. And it's how you finish. It's not how you start. The most important thing, especially with Denmark and Slovenia having a draw, Denmark and Slovakia, having a draw, was make sure you got 3 points. Job done.
Mm-hmm.
Job done. Get out of the group, and then it's down to what? Then it's down to one-on-one knockout football. Then you want to see us expand a bit. Then you want to see us like if that was a knockout game, that 1-0, and we played like that in the second half, everyone should have every right to go bloody mad because you're sitting on a 1-0.
You're sitting there shitting bricks.
Exactly, but wait, listen, we do that. We get 3 points tomorrow. Job done. Job done.
Exactly. I agree.
So like you said, a lot of this is fixable. And obviously, we're talking here as just football fans and people in the chat are the same. It's very, very fixable. It's very, very fixable. It's whether Gareth Southgate will do it or say, let's do this again, let's do this again. We'll have to wait and see.
Brian, something you said, and it was... I thought that first 30 minutes, we looked as fluid as.
Completely.
Foden getting into positions as such where Trippier was covering him and Bellingham got out the way and whatever, but Foden just could not seem to get anything to work. Everybody working around everybody. When someone came out of position, someone covered the position and everything. First 30 minutes, I thought we looked solid and could have easily got 2 or 3 goals out of that if we'd have got it to that point where we could actually have the bloody shots. But after that 30 minutes, it started going a bit stale. And okay, I get it. 30 minutes left. Back off a little bit, yeah? If the pressure's coming a little bit or you're wearing it down, okay, back off, muscle it up to the second half. This is what I asked for Ange to do when you need to, yeah? And then second half, bang, come out and do it again. Did we help? Serbia came out and bossed us like a bunch of bitches as far as I'm concerned.
Big time.
And like what I said with Saka, first half, I think he was the best player on the pitch, yeah? He was excellent in that first half. And then the second half, like I said to everyone down here, I think the manager just pulled over their left back and said, "Wait, over here. If you ever watch the Premiership or you in it, whatever, do to him what everyone else does. Take his legs out and he will fold."
Yeah,
Exactly what happened. They muscled him and he could not handle it. Now, it's no disrespect to Saka, but he is not a physical player. And how do you do a physical player? You get physical on him. How do you get a non-physical player? You get physical on him, basically, innit?
Yep.
Like exactly what they try and do with Foden in teams, like exactly what they try and do with Maddison with us. It's just tactics at the end of the day. People can say it's dirty football. Well, I don't care. As long as we win that game. Like you said, if it's boring, it's this, it's that. But you do have to pick up on the points. And one of the points that I would tell any team I was in charge of personally playing against Saka, take him out. Get your yellow card on him if you have to. Don't break his legs as such and get a red card, but take him out. Bully him, muscle him, barge into him, get physical with him. Because Saka does not like that. And it showed. First half for me, he was a 9, best player on the pitch. Second half, 5 or 6, because he just got totally kippered, didn't he? Absolutely. He did. And then it was baked potato. See you later, mate. He was gone.
The only reason, Dan, I think people aren't doing that, or tell it they may be, is obviously in international football, 2 bookings and you're suspended, as opposed to 5 back in the UK. And obviously,
is it 2? I thought it was 3. Okay.
2 yellow cards, or it used to be, unless they've changed it for this. 2 yellow cards. I think it gets wiped out. No, it doesn't, because with Gaza back in the no, it don't. But I don't know if they wipe it out after the group stages now or anything. But 2 yellow cards, you miss the next game. And unless they do it, do you remember like Mourinho showed in the Wolves game in the documentary? He just kept changing the people on Adama to keep just picking up yellow cards. I agree that you would say to someone that leave one on him or at least let him know you're there. But I think you've got to, especially if you're a big team, and let's face it, when we say Serbia, I don't expect Serbia to get to the quarters, the semis, that may get out of the group. I think they showed that they got more about them than I thought. But I can't see players wanting to pick up that. That taking one for the team could mean later on down the line in the quarters or a semi, you get booked and you can miss the biggest game in your life. So
it's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's what you're willing to do for the team.
Or the country as well, isn't it? When you put it on this
team, whatever.
It's even bigger when you put it that way. It's like, do you want this player? Do you want to take this player and get a yellow card and you miss it, so you keep him quiet, or do you want to risk that player missing the next huge game for your country? It's a Premier League, like you said, you can get away with it because you got 5 yellow cards. You can say to them, don't put a challenge in. You can't get booked, go soft, whatever. So I think that comes into it as well in international tournaments.
No, I totally agree. I mean, with what someone just said, what Stefan just said here, he's agreeing with me, basically. It isn't only about, it's only about winning, not style.
Correct.
I agree, but if you don't get your style right, and you go and play a game like we did, and it ain't working because players ain't in their best positions and that, the style in the latter games, when you come up against French, the Germans, Spanish, Portugal, then your style has to come into it as well. Because now you're playing the real boys. Now you're playing the big boys. I'm not saying that anybody isn't there in a real boy. I mean, the way the Scottish got more by Germany was a bit harsh. I still think you're playing international teams. So when it comes to a certain time, you're going to have to get your style right as well. So I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I'm agreeing with what Stefan says here. But there is that point you've got to get that style right. Because if you don't, you're going to get hurt for it. And against a better, more clinical side, we could have got very hurt there in that second half. I mean, again, with the Serbians, something that 3-4 all says here, Serbia paid us too much respect on early doors. Yeah, do you know what? I could half go with that. But on the other side of it, I think we also scared them a bit in the first 30 minutes of how good our passing was and how well we dominated them. But in that second half, they just went physical, and most of our team just, I wouldn't say folded, but you could see they was under pressure. And you could see there was a few of them getting knocked about. And that was why I thought Bowen was excellent.
He's fantastic. He
really was. He was brilliant because he started doing everything. And again, this is not being a Spurs supporter. This is no disrespect to Saka. Because in that first half, I rate him a 9. And he was the best player on the pitch, in my opinion. But what happened to him? Not his fault. Because just he's only a little boy. And there's nothing physically of him. I mean... He ain't much bigger than Brian Gill, for God's sake. Just a million times better. And Bowen came out and did what Saka couldn't do. So I think Southgate there actually made a very good call. He saw that Saka was just getting bossed, completely bossed physically. So he brought out Bowen, who can hold his ground. And he did. Okay, he didn't get forward as much as we wanted to, but I don't think the whole team got forward very well in the second half. And I thought Bowen come on. I thought he was fucking brilliant, mate. I thought he was excellent. He did what Saka couldn't do. Started fighting the left back. Started going toe to toe with him, squaring him, bossing him, getting dirty tackles back on him, but giving it back out as well. Getting shouldered off the ball, but doing the same to him. He had a pure fight with that player, their left back, and he did what Saka just can't physically do. You can't use Saka like that. So for that, you've got to give Southgate credit. That was a brilliant call. And I also think the other sub he made with putting Gallagher in the middle. Yeah, Trent was that crap, and Gallagher did what he is good at, being a proper box-to-box player. I actually thought Southgate made some good calls.
You look at Saka, I think the great thing with Bowen and Saka, and the one thing Bowen does, which is the one thing I will say he's better than Saka at, is we had to get Harry Kane into the game. We had to get Harry Kane into the game. Next bit I was going to get to. Saka gets the ball, and his style of play, which he's phenomenal at, is like the wingers we have now, cut in and go for goal. And that's kind of the type of winger a lot of teams use right now. Bowen can do that, but one thing Bowen has got is an outstanding delivery on him. And you've seen he just came on, and his first involvement was to get that cross out. I saw a stat this morning when I was watching Sky Sports News, and I couldn't believe what I heard. Harry Kane in that first half touched the ball once in first half until added time, when he touched the ball a couple more times. So in 45 minutes of football, Harry Kane touched the ball, not even touched the ball once, which you cannot allow to happen. Obviously, that's great work from Serbia doing whatever they did to...
Brian,
we could not find him for love nor money.
I don't even think they marked him up. I think they was marking Bellingham more than they was Kane, because Kane was just walking about all over the place, which I don't blame him for it. The problem we got here, and another problem we got to fix, and this is what I'm going to start going through, our problems and how to fix them. But you mentioned Harry Kane. That is right. I think one problem that Harry Kane's got, I call it a problem, but it's fixable, but it's only he can fix this, yeah? He's too used to playing as a 10 and a 9 at the same time.
Yep.
He'd done it for what, 9 years, 8 years, 9 years, whatever at Spurs, 10 years, whatever he was at Spurs, yeah? He had to come back and do the 10 and the 9. And I think he's so used to doing it, and he's also had to do it for England as well. But now we have our number 10. We have our Bellingham.
I still think it should be Foden, mate.
Or Foden, whatever way, yeah? We have got a number 10 covered now. Kane, stay forward now. Don't be your complete striker that you are, or your advanced striker. Be more of a target man. Do you get what I'm saying? But he keeps coming back. And at one stage, it was a good job he did come back, because he'd done what he's fucking good at, and that's also defending and saved our lives, basically, as well. But as a whole, there were times where I saw him nearly on the halfway line with Foden, Bellingham, and Saka past him, and they look in the middle. Where's Kane? I think he's got it in his head too much that he needs to come back. Now, is that the manager telling him that? Or is that just natural instinct or head saying that I need to get in this game some way or another, so I drop back? Because the thing I always say is a striker can go... He is the only player on that team, a striker that has the right to go missing for 80 minutes, but as long as he gets that ball in the back of the net on a chance, nobody gives a shit.
Yep. There we go. No, you're right. You're completely right. Listen, with Harry Kane, thankfully, I mean, if he'd had a game like he had on Sunday, all the Spurs fans would have jumped to his defence, and rightfully so, because he was one of ours. Obviously, not being a Spurs boy now officially, we have the most prolific striker in world football.
Mm-hmm.
The season he's just had, there's no getting away from just how good he is.
He's complete. He's the most complete striker on the planet.
But it's got to the point where England have had to depend on him so often, like we did at Tottenham. But now you've got this array of young talent, whether it be your Cole Palmers coming off the benches, your Eze's, your Bellinghams, your Fodens, your Sakas. There should be a way to say, right, Harry, just you get up there. We're going to get the balls into Bowden, like we just mentioned. Bowen, sorry. I'd like him to stay up there, but when Trent Alexander goes off, Trent Alexander is the only one that can rival him passing range and create it. And if Trent Alexander goes off, he's going to need to drop back. He's going to, because you saw how bad our play was in the second half. But he should be, for me, a lot more advanced, like you said. And I think if you look at it, look at the Haaland and Foden combination. Again, it's one big, one small. Obviously, Haaland's much bigger and physical than Harry, but you got the big man, small man, and they can feed off each other. I just honestly think Bellingham's best position is in the Lampard role, the 8. I think that is his best position. And then you put Rice back to 6. Then you get all those youngsters in, and Harry Kane can do that. People know, listen, Harry Kane, no matter where he goes, against Denmark, he'll be heavily marked. Anyone that played, and this is what England have got to work out.
I don't think Serbia actually marked him.
No, but I think Denmark will.
They didn't have to.
I think Denmark will, and I think when we get into the latter rounds, when it's the bigger teams against the bigger teams, everyone will be like, right, you've got your problems, we've got our threats, and the big teams will do what they do. But he has he's had a bad game, or an indifferent game, should we say, whatever you want to say, a game where it's very quiet. If he has to have one quiet game this season, this tournament, why not the first one?
Exactly, or the second one. Just
look at Alan Shearer in Euro '96. Came into that tournament off the back of a really barren run, like hadn't scored for England for I think 13 months. All right, the Euro '96 team is a different team completely, but first game was poor, and then the rest on fire. So let's just hope lightning strikes twice.
Do you know what I was sort of half hoping to see on there? What I thought Southgate might be trying to do, yeah. And again, I relate to old Spurs tactics of Kane when it was Dele Alli behind him. Now Bellingham is a lot better over player than Dele Alli, yeah. But I was sort of hoping that we'd see a Kane Son or a Kane Dele Alli sort of thing, where Bellingham plays more of the shadow striker sort of thing.
Yep.
Kane gets the ball as the target man, holds on to it for a split second or whatever, like he can. Bellingham passed him, or it used to be like Son, or like the way Dele Alli did it with England with him, passed him, ball to him, man on goal, we got a chance. That was the sort of idea I had as well. But this is too much of a team of, like you said, with the Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard, that needs to be fixed by the time we do, hopefully, which I'm pretty 99% sure of, get through the knockout stages. And for me in that one, I mean, Declan Wright definitely keeps his place as the anchor man, hands down. But then I personally think it's who we put next to, it's who we go and put next to, I lost my names now. It's who we go and put next to Bellingham. Because I think Bellingham, you can get a very good game out of him, as like you said, as an 8, and play him as a box-to-box, so he can get forward, but he can also come back and defend, like we know he's capable of doing. He's a very all-round capable player. Even though he's best at going forward, he's still more than capable of covering that 8 box-to-box position, yeah? So who do we then put in next to Bellingham instead of Trent? And I think the options we got there, basically, Gallagher for the latter games, no. I think we got a better option of, say, putting Eze there. And the 10 position is another one as well. What do we do with that? There's a few things there that we need to change. I mean, Foden as the number 10 is, I think he will do a better job there.
Yep.
With, say, Bellingham and Eze in the middle, or Bellingham and, obviously right behind him, and even Gallagher there showed he was stronger than Trent in the middle. And then get whoever we can out on the left, whether it's Palmer, which isn't his prime one, he's better on the right. Eze can play left, but he prefers right. I think that left-hand side is definitely a bit of a problem for us. But if you want to get Bellingham and Foden into that team properly, you got to play. You haven't really got much option. You got to play Bellingham as number 8, back-to-back, back box to box, and then stick Foden as the 10. I think that's the only way you get them into that game. Now, it won't be Bellingham's best role, but he is more than capable of being very good with it. He's done it at Dortmund enough times. And then the question is, who does go out on the left?
Dan, this is the thing. If you look at it, and you'll remember as well, I remember this growing up, the left wing position, and I'm sure people in the chat as well that have followed England, whether you're English or you just love English football, you support and you follow England in the Euros, the left wing has been a problem for more years than I care to remember. I remember this ordeal when John Barnes was playing left wing, and people were like, "Oh no, he's not good on the left." It's always been the left wing, and I always think to myself, if only Gareth Bale or Ryan Giggs, or especially Giggsy, because he could have played for England.
McManaman was the one that is the best one we've had for England on the left.
But do you know what? Euro 96, yeah. Do you know what? This, and when you think about it, that's Euro 96 time.
Yeah, and that's probably the most solid left winger English we've had, isn't it? McManaman, going back to those days, I would say. Personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Philly, my man Philly just said Anthony Gordon, we haven't even mentioned as well. Anthony Gordon has had an incredible season for Newcastle there.
Fair point.
But this is the thing. If people remember, this left wing has been a problem for England. Like we just said, through the Scholes time, it was Scholes go out there. We just haven't predominantly had that silky, classy left winger. It seems to be a big problem for England. Period.
We've always had it on the right, haven't we? Yeah. On the right, we've had all the choices on the planet now.
Mate, we had a time where we had Anderton and Beckham, for God's sake, the two best right footers, or two of the best right footers in Europe at the time. Anderson, who I loved, obviously Spurs bias, he was fantastic. It was just his injury. It was just his injuries again. But the right has been a problem. Yeah, the right has been a goddamn. The right has been always sort of Chrissy. I mean, Chrissy Wadham also on the left was. The
right has been fine. The left has always.
Yeah, the left seems to have always been a problem. Stephen Thomas just whacked in another one later than McManaman. Joe Cole definitely. Yep. But if you look at that, so we spoke.
It wasn't his prime position, was it?
Yeah, but if you look at it, we've spoken since Italia 90, and the two that we're saying, and if anyone else can remember any left wingers that did well, put it in. But we're talking since 1990, Joe Cole and Steve McManaman. We're talking 34 years, and the only two that we could say were. Yeah, but do you know what? If we're talking Maddison, Rob, I don't think Maddison deserved to go.
Grealish.
Okay, no. Grealish.
Why the hell? That is who I was waiting for you to say.
Big time. But well, do you know what? Grealish, he hasn't really done it in an England shirt. He has to he has been hasn't been a solid. I wanted Grealish to go more than Maddison. Because Grealish,
Maddison did not deserve to be in that team. Never in a million miles.
Grealish, I out of all the players he left out, Grealish is the one that got to me because he can just do something there and then.
Even if he just muscles it up there and holds the ball as a sort of target left man, he is actually on the left.
Yeah, Grealish. Yeah, I don't. But I would, Joe. I wouldn't put Grealish in the McManaman, Joe Cole, and who's the other one we said? Someone else said someone. But Joe Cole, McManaman, they play predominantly on the left and they had a good run in for England and they were in good teams. I wouldn't put Grealish in that just yet. I think if he was there on Sunday, we would have had a much different performance or much more success. But yeah, I think Grealish was a huge mistake from Southgate.
Yeah, I like one thing that Southgate's done. Yeah, he's gone for players that, I mean, some could even say Rashford. Yeah, but hang on a minute before you jump at that one. Yeah, and I do like the way he has actually gone for players that are playing well or had a good season instead of just going for names. Because Grealish ain't had a good season. Rashford, for me, I don't like the prick. I don't like his attitude. To me, he almost thinks he's too big for Man United. Like probably one of, if not the biggest club in the world, yeah? Even though haven't had the best 10 seasons, whatever, and that, yeah? Still up there with the top 3 biggest clubs on this planet. And I don't think he respects even where he is, let alone getting for England. And probably the most complete players who play in that position that we've got is probably Grealish or Rashford. But Rashford don't play as a winger. He plays as like an inverted forward, doesn't he? Yeah. Grealish, I think, is our only option we would have had there if you want a natural left person there. He's not exactly a left winger. He's more of a left target man, isn't he? I would say.
Yep. Well, you say that just quickly. When you say about Southgate picking players on name, I agree with it to an extent. But then you look at Luke Shaw. I think what he did with Guehi, what my God, what a performance from that man. He started off doing this, and I really enjoyed what Southgate was doing. Some of the things he made. You mentioned Rashford. I think Rashford's a very, very good player. I just think he's had a very, very, very bad season.
Too patchy for me. Too patchy.
You look at the season before last, over 30 goals. I would say he has good. Basically, he has very, very good seasons, and then the videos we all saw with his pressing, where he was just literally just more like a walk/jog.
He had a good 6 months last season. It looked like he had a solid season because of the amount of goals and everything.
I don't think he had a good 6 months last season. I don't think
not last season. Sorry, season before.
I've seen that season before he had a good season. Season before he had a good season. But when he first broke onto the scene, I think he's I think he needs to move away from United. I think if he gets away from Manchester, he could be a very, very good player again.
For me, he's one that his mentality isn't its best. I just think he acts like an arrogant prick who's too big for his boots and thinks Man U should be proud to have him. That's how he comes across.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's the nicest player you'll ever meet and everything else. But I can only go by what I see, and I know the press is full of shit. But I can only go by what I see and what I see with him. And when you hear the stories of like, yeah, they had a beating, so they was back to training the next day, but he missed training because he went out for a piss up the night before, which got proven fact. That's not a player I want at my club. And Man U being the size they are, yeah, this is where I think he has got. I think the fella's got a chip on his shoulder of like, Man U, you should be proud to have me. And like, no, mate, you should be proud to play at Man U. Or proud to play for England. And I just think he's just got that. I just think he's a stuck-up prick, if you want to answer. But other people will say what they want. It is a personal opinion. I think he's stuck up his own arse. He can smell yesterday's dinner. But that's the last I'll say for that.
I love your analogies. I really do. I really, really do.
He's got bad attitude on him. But anyway, coming back to that, the most left-sided ones we got, it is Grealish and Rashford, basically, and neither of them are there.
Yeah. It's a
problem. So how the hell do we cover this?
I'm just trying to think as well. I mean, Anthony Gordon is definitely up there. I think Anthony Gordon, we were in for him with Newcastle, and obviously Newcastle got him. I don't think our interest was as genuine as it came across. But the first 6 months at Newcastle, the season that he joined, it looked like, what have they done for the money? This season, he was fantastic. He was absolutely brilliant for Newcastle. So I think we have got the future left footer there. But you got to look at who could be the next one, because obviously Grealish is getting older. He's still got time, but England need to. I can't think of many. Eze potentially, but yeah, this left wing, Dan. I think there's a whole show on it trying to think about England's next left sider, because we just haven't seemed as a nation to be able to produce it, especially when you look at Wales that have had the privilege of Giggs and Bale. I mean, so a country that's
could have played for England, for God's sake.
But exactly, but we talk about these small teams having a much smaller pool to play from, and they try and find people that have got ancestors that may have Welsh roots or whatever. So go back without a doubt, 3-4, without a doubt. But it's amazing how certain nations can produce certain roles of players, and Wales certainly have a knack for getting the left wing right.
Well,
if you look at it, mate, I would say if we had Giggs or Bale for their entire length of their time that they play for those countries, England win a World Cup or win a Euros at least with one of those two.
So the problem for me as well is at times I keep relating this to Spurs, and this weren't a program to talk, like a channel to talk about Spurs, even though it is a Spurs channel.
Yeah, it was.
The problems I am definitely seeing in this team are very, very similar to Spurs as such in some ways. Like I've said, I think Postecoglou would be perfect for this team we've got. Like his style of play, I think would really, really match this team we've got. No, I don't like the inverted wing-back style, but it's a lot stronger in the middle to hold it up the ball and a lot better up front at scoring goals. And I just think Postecoglou's style would suit this team down to a T. But, and I haven't given the manager that much credit this season, but in the middle, I thought at times we looked a bit boxed up in the middle with the same problems that we've had as Postecoglou at Spurs sometimes, but we've had them for different reasons. And that has been purely by the inverted, I think. But there was at times where Foden drifted off into the middle, Harry Kane come back to a number 10, and then Bellingham's almost standing next to him saying, "Get the fuck out my way. Why aren't you there?" And it sort of got a bit compact in the middle, didn't it? With Trent trying to come forward at times as well. And then you got 3 or 4 players all standing within 6 foot of each other. Now where's my option to pass the ball? And I thought England up front looked a little bit crowded at times in the 10 sort of position.
Yeah, I mean, you go back and you were talking about how Postecoglou would do with this team. I'll raise you one better. I think Eddie Howe wins it with this team. That's it. I
can see where you're coming from. I think
Eddie Howe with this array of riches up top could I say wins it. I think if Eddie Howe had this team, we get to the final.
This is where we go to what I can't remember who it was, but someone said earlier, it's about winning, not style.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a minute. This is where it confronts what he said and what I said back. Earlier, you don't give a shit, you just do what you got to do. But the style does come into it over due time. Just like a season. The first 10 games, how you play and win them, okay, fine. But then your style then goes on for the rest of the season, which wins you a season. Yeah? Not just muscling out every game 1-0 or whatever. Hardly ever would. It just wouldn't win you a season on this day and age. And Southgate, for me, for his style and that, he's just not the man for this job. And there's other people out there who would say that they're not as good a manager as such or known or whatever, but their style would suit the team better. And this is where I keep coming back to Tottenham. Another one. With the players we've got, like with England, the players we've got, you can actually make a very average team, let's say good team, yeah, but not good enough to win a league or a cup or whatever. If you get the right style for them and you play every player in their position, what they are best at, in the right system, the right style, the right way, you can make an average team look very good, or you can make a good team look fucking good.
Yep.
It is about style and system when it comes to a crunch as well. Certain games you can just your style can just go out of the way and you just have to do what you got to do. But style does come into this. The system does come into it. And for me, at the moment, it's fixable, but can Southgate fix it?
This is the thing. The way I look at this, Dan, and the whole of Southgate's appointment, when we actually appointed him, I was actually really, really excited. Not because, it's Gareth Southgate, but because he'd worked well with all the youngsters, because he'd gone through the youth or the youth levels with them. By the time, like what Spain did with their great generation, Busquets worked with them at the younger age, came to them. He had the same kind of he played the same football. So when they got to the league, the big job and the international tournaments, they all knew the style of play. They all knew what they were doing, and obviously Spain reaped the rewards. And I think England actually did really smart thinking doing that with Southgate. But then Southgate's got to a semi-final and a final, obviously, in his first two tournaments, which showed it was the right thing to do. And now it's kind of fallen off. It's like his style of football hasn't seemed to evolve, but the players he's picking has, and the teams they're playing for. And you look at someone like Phil Foden. He can play on the left for Manchester City if asked, because he's got a De Bruyne, a Rodri, a Haaland, a this or that, and they're constantly moving and doing everything. So their position is that there's complete movement. In England, it's like stay on the left. Stay on the left. So you're isolating him. I think the players have basically got to the point now where they're too good for the style of football, or sorry, maybe not too good, but their style of football and their footballing IQ is well ahead of Gareth Southgate's.
The way they tell Foden to stay on the left, is totally different to how Man City tell him to play on the left.
Exactly.
And this is what I am saying: by you put players in their right place, or even if you put them in a place and tell them to play how they are best at playing, because Foden could work on the left, just not with this style as such. But I feel we need to get him into that number 10 role desperately. And this is what I was saying, Char. You can make a good team a very, very, very good team if you're playing everyone to the right style and their capabilities. And in those three main positions, we're not. Well, with Bellingham as a number 10, yes, we are. But he's just sort of, it has just got a Lampard Gerrard written all over it, isn't it?
It has. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens. Obviously, we could come out tomorrow, play the way that we all want us to play, get the result, and everything will look rosy again. It's what we do as England fans, isn't it? And as England as a team. Tomorrow, we could come on. Harry Kane could get a hat trick, or he could have a blinder, get a goal and a couple of assists. Whatever. Foden could have the game of his life for England, and then everything we've spoken about in between Sunday and tomorrow is like that's done and dusted. As I say, today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip paper. That's what the life of an England fan is, or any fan. This is the thing. Tomorrow is a big test, isn't it? It's a big test.
Denmark are no mugs, mate. They're no mugs. I've watched them play a few times, yeah. Denmark are no mugs. Nor is anyone in this tournament, I'm saying. But people seem to think, a few people I've seen and spoken to elsewhere, yes, Denmark is a team we should be beating, but be bloody careful. Just because they got someone like Højbjerg in that team, don't mean that team's crap. I mean, for them, he plays as an attacking midfielder, like a number 10 almost at times, yeah. But usually it's Eriksen doing that. But Denmark ain't no mugs, mate. Don't write them. Seriously, tomorrow is going to be a hard game.
It is. Well, I mean,
same as any game.
We have a good record of them in international tournaments. But also, do you know what? Yeah. In all honesty, on Sunday's game, I was more impressed with Slovakia than I was Denmark. I thought it was Slovakia, wasn't it? Not Slovakia or always get mixed up with Slovakia or Slovenia. It is Slovakia, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that 1-1 game was fantastic. what a game that was. And Slovakia really, really, really impressed me. I thought that was a really great performance from them. I think
should be.
I'm personally, I'm more concerned about playing Slovakia than I am Denmark. But by then, hopefully, we'll have the 3 points, and it'll be like, right, you're through. So
6 points and you're 6 points and you're through.
It's 4 points and you're through as well.
Oh yeah, because it comes down to the.
I think it's literally.
Basically, is it the best 3 or best 4 in third place?
It's the best. Obviously, the top 2, and then the best 4.
Yeah, in third position. In
third place, but literally, I see us getting a minimum 7 points, if not 9. That's what I see. Lee, I have to say, I was watching the Austria game, but then we had a huge Wi-Fi outage here for a few hours. I really like the look of Austria. I thought Austria were giving France such a good game. I've been really impressed with. I was very.
They was unlucky with that own goal, weren't they? I personally think they actually muscled the French up.
Mate, I think some of the games of the tournament so far, and I haven't been able to watch a lot of them because of the time difference, or I've been busy, have been those games like you look at Georgia, Turkey, and you would have thought, what the hell? This is like like one of those games that it's like in the Premier League when you hear it's like one of those 2 middle teams that you don't really want to watch, and you're like, well, why do I want to watch that? But that game, some of these games, those games that you don't think are going to be like a great spectacle to watch, have been magnificent.
No, for me, it's been Romania, Ukraine. The way Romania done Ukraine, and again, I mean, that's not just because Drăgușin was that good in the game. It's not just because of that. Romania just schooled them completely, absolutely schooled them in every direction.
People have got to remember, Dan,
impressed me.
People have got to remember, and we're showing our age here. I remember the times when Romania was Ilie Dumitrescu, Gica Popescu, Georgie Hagi, and Romania were not a team you took lightly. They were like they are a team you take at your peril. They can play football.
They had some excellent players.
Mate, I was obsessed with
Italia 90 and that.
Mate, Gica Popescu was one of the. I loved him at Spurs, but I loved him as a footballer. But Romania sometimes have these like surges of talents that come through, and when they get it right, they are nobody's mugs. And all right, it was a Ukrainian team, and it weren't the Shevchenko and Rebrov kind of Ukrainian team. I do not think that.
There's some very good players in that Ukraine team. They had some good players. I think Romania just schooled them. You look at it, but
we've now had the full round of first matches, haven't we? So now we're going through the second round of group matches. And I think when you saw, like we've done our sweepstakes on our channel with a free T-shirt, people were looking at it and going, "Oh my God, I got Austria, or I got an unfashionable team." I've got a feeling a couple of these unfashionable teams might go quite far. From what I saw, there are some. If Greece could do it, I'm not saying they're going to win it. If Greece, Joe at least just had it right on the head. This is why. This
exactly what we have been saying, isn't it? Basically,
yeah.
Romania are playing well, Lee. Exactly, mate. It's what me and Brian have been saying. Romania are playing to their strengths and players in the right positions.
Yeah,
and that is where you make a mediocre, because they haven't got the greatest team out there. They got some good players, but they're pretty average nation. But when you play the players and you play the right style, and you play the right players to their system and how they know how to do it in the right positions, you can make an average team look like a very good team.
Correct.
That is exactly what I think we've both been saying, isn't it? So sorry to interrupt you. Carry on what you're saying.
No, I was just saying, you look at it, I think, and I've just seen Scott M, who got Ukraine in the Tottenham on Tour sweepstakes. So I think he won't be winning a T-shirt. But yeah, I've got a feeling a couple of these unfashionable teams are going to get through. And you've seen it. Turkey did it in the World Cup in 2002. They got to the semi-final. Greece 2004. There are occasions where these small teams... Morocco in the last World Cup. I've got a feeling there could be an upset coming, but not winning the thing, but getting a lot, like taking a couple of scalps along the way. I think there is a team or two that's going to be a huge surprise, and Austria could definitely be one of them.
For me, that team was Denmark. But after their first game and that, I don't know. But for me, I thought Denmark could definitely do better than what people think. But as I said, the ones out there who impressed me all the way was Romania. But then, like you said, Austria against France. France was struggling. I mean, okay, they should have been 2 up. Where how Mbappe missed that sitter, I could have scored that. And that's no exaggeration. And he curled it round the bloody box.
Lukaku, mate. Lukaku. I mean, Belgium were poor.
Belgium was absolutely shit, mate.
And
they
obviously,
terrible.
With Jan Vertonghen, whenever Jan Vertonghen's on the pitch, I am always supporting that team unless it's against England.
Yeah, but come on, man.
They were bad.
He's past his sell-by date.
He's
still good.
How Belgium, with that golden generation, didn't even get to a final?
You know what that is, don't you? That's just got England 2000, 2002, whatever written all over it.
Yeah.
Like golden. But when we had Rio Ferdinand at the back and everything and started.
Yeah, mate, but that Belgian team, Hazard, De Bruyne, Vertonghen, Toby. You can go on and on.
It had who was it on the left who went over to from Chelsea to
Eden Hazard. No, not
Hazard. Yeah, Hazard.
Yeah, it literally that team had everything. Like absolutely everything. Strength.
One of the best goalkeepers on the planet, because Courtois, I've always saying he's an excellent goalkeeper.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They came out. I mean, the last time I remember Belgium being good was when we played them in Italia '90, and they had a couple of Enzo Schifo and a couple of other players that were absolutely outstanding. Then they fell off a cliff, and then this golden generation, bloody hell. But yeah, I've got a feeling they could be going home. I've got a feeling Belgium could be out of the group stage.
For what people have said to me, half the problem with the Belgian team is that half of them don't like each other.
There's that, and also you look at it. We talk about managers. They had Roberto Martinez. If they had a different manager,
who was it on the team? It was sort of like John Terry and they what's his name? What was his bloody name?
Wayne Bridge.
Yeah, you know, where one took the other's bird and shaked it, you know. And Terry walked past him and didn't even try and shake hands with him because he knew he'd probably get headbutted in the face.
Yep.
It's meant to have something like that's meant to have happened in the Belgian team. I can't remember with what 2 players it is, but someone's basically took the other's bird off them and.
Oh no, that was with Courtois and De Bruyne.
All right.
That's Courtois and De Bruyne.
But this is where, on a professional side,
again, both ex-Chelsea, it seems to be a thing.
This is where, on an international side or on a professional side, what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch. What happens off the pitch stays off the pitch. But that has got to be a very hard thing to do when you're looking at making that pass, and as all you're looking at is that man who stole your lovely missus, your wife, whatever, and yeah. You're going to want to run over to him and headbutt him, not the ball sort of it. That's got to be really hard on a mental basis.
That's
You've
what
got to be professional. If I ever made it professional, something like that had happened to me, that's what I'd have done. Straight after kickoff, just run out and 2-footed him. Yeah, you know, like exactly like Roy Keane did to Haaland's dad. All right, mate, you want to say I was a mug on the floor, took out and ended his career with just done his knee struck. That would have been it. That would have been something for the papers to talk about, wouldn't it? Yeah. But right, let's just get back to the point here because I ain't got much longer here. I've got a wife who wishes to have the room and that, so I've got about another 15 minutes. How do we then fix this not broken, but broken-ish England team? How do we fix it? But the question is, how will Southgate fix it? But how do we fix this? Because at the back, I've got no problem, except who we play Trippier at the back, but I don't really think we have another option, to tell the truth. I think the only other option would have been there is if we'd have took Gomez there. I think he might have even been a better option there than Trippier, possibly. Remember, if you look, he's not a wing back as such, is he? He's more of more of just a left back. See, Dan, you look at it. At right back, we've got 3 strong options.
You got Kyle Walker,
Yeah.
you got Trent Alexander-Arnold, you got Kieran Trippier.
Yeah.
Kieran Trippier can go on the left. Obviously, we don't know with Luke Shaw.
But his position is the right.
I think if you look at it, I was actually very, very impressed with the partnerships of Guehi and Stones. I think
I thought that Guehi was much better than Stones. I thought he covered Stones' arse too.
Oh no, he did. But I'm saying as a partnership, obviously, we're talking about trying things at a new tournament. So it's been Stones and Maguire as like his staple go-to, and to make a bold move before a major tournament and say, right, we're going to try it this way. Looks like it's. I think that's got the potential to be a very good pairing, because Guehi can do what he does. Stones, when he's on form, is a fantastic. He's above quality. I think he's brilliant.
He is a very, very, very good player. I mean, just quickly, Lee, this is what we're trying to do at the moment. Play players in their correct position like they do with their clubs, but they don't do it at all clubs. Tottenham are one of the worst ones for it. We don't play players to their potential in their correct positions or roles. And the problem we've got with England at the moment, mate, is that we have to play players out of their best position or role because we haven't got bloody no one else to put in there. And this is what me and Brian are trying to fix right now. So sorry to interrupt you there, Brian.
No, do you know what? You mentioned what we're talking about. This is, I'm just going to bring this back to Spurs very, very quickly, and you'll understand why. What I used to hate when we had Son and Kane, if Kane got injured, I used to think that made us weaker by 3 players. And not just because Kane's out, but what I mean is you take Kane out, so that's 1. You then move Son out of his best position on the left to up front, that's 2. You then bring in a left winger who couldn't even get in the first team on the bench to then take. So you're making your team, in my sense, 3 players weaker because you're shuffling people. And I get thinking, I'm like, would I rather play a player that plays in that position? So let's use the left wing, for example. Would I rather see an Anthony Gordon on left wing who plays there for his club week in, week out and does the job very well over trying to get Phil Foden in left wing? Don't get me wrong, Phil Foden by far is a better player than Anthony Gordon. Overall. But overall, if I was a manager, but this is the thing, do you fit the better player in a weaker position, or do you play the player who is strong in that position over the better player overall? And if
overall effect on the squad as a whole
and the balance,
and the fluid and whatever else, I think you are better playing the player who is best in that position.
Exactly.
Unless he's just. We all know Foden is significantly better than Gordon. But on the left, I do think he's a better option. So wing back we can't really fix, as it comes down to it. So it's got to be Trippier, isn't it? So what do we do with this midfield and left and number 10 sort of thing?
I'll give you it for me straight away. If I was going to Southgate, I'm just about to give in the team sheet. Anchor of midfield, number 6, Declan Rice.
No 2 ways about it.
Number 8, Jude Bellingham.
Yep.
Number 10, Phil Foden. And then across the top line, Saka, Kane, Gordon.
Okay.
Or Ezri, but I think I'd favour Gordon because he has been immense for Newcastle there all season.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I can go with that one. That's pretty much the same sort of thing I would do because I do. This is what I'm saying. It is fixable, but will Southgate do it? That is going to be the question. I mean, look, me and Brian just fixed that. I mean, who knows? They might play that and it might not work. But
and if they do, we can say Gareth Southgate watched us this morning and it's all because of us.
Well, most of us seems to be our fault anyway because we're just negative. So, but anyway, I honestly think.
Oh wait a minute! Stop that, Angus. Congratulations to your dad and all the family. What incredible news! I had this with my mum 16 years ago. Forget football, forget everything. So happy for you, mate. That is incredible news.
Well done there,
amazing.
Mate.
Amazing.
Well, congratulate. I don't know. I'm not very good with my words, mate. one thing I can relate to you on here, I'm not going to go into a story. I lost both my mother and father to cancer, and that is the devil's. Truthfully, mate, I don't even want to bring it into it, mate. Brilliant, excellent news for anybody. I wouldn't wish that on the most hated person that I hate, even though I don't hate no one, because hating someone for me is giving too much. It's giving too much of your feelings to someone you dislike. But that's all a different story, yeah? Mate, excellent for you, and I'm over the moon for you and happy. Like I say, I lost my mother and father to that, and that thing is fucking evil. No two ways about it. So, mate, excellent. And even though I don't know you, I'm over the moon and happy for you.
Exactly.
I wouldn't wish that on the devil.
Yeah, but you know what? Now your dad's going to have to watch Scotland later on. and let's hope that Scotland can do you... make the day complete for you.
Well, on that side, we shall see. But on the other side, mate, I'm over the moon for you, and completely. I don't even know you. I wouldn't wish that on the fucking devil, like I said. So, Brian,
yes.
How did you say we fix it?
Bob the Builder. Yes, we can. Let's do it. Rice, midfield, Rice, Bellingham, Foden, 6, 8, 10. Then basically the Saka on the right, Kane, Anthony Gordon. I do want to say, I mean, I was one that didn't want Anthony Gordon, thought Newcastle wasted a load of money, but boy, have I got to eat some humble pie, because I think this season he has been absolutely magnificent. And if anyone watches
Newcastle, he's played on both sides. He's played on the right as well, hasn't he?
And if anyone ever watches the overlap with Gary Neville, which I always make sure I watch, he did one with Anthony Gordon. Do you know what? Sitting down and listening to Anthony Gordon talk at such a young age was one of the best interviews the Overlap had done. I was very, very impressed with Anthony Gordon, the person, as well as I have been Anthony Gordon, the player, and he was terrific for Newcastle this season.
I mean, I was watching an interview with Gary Neville. I mean, this is like a bit irrelevant, but I thought someone stuck a knife through the middle of his head.
Yeah, he's got that mark, hasn't he? Yeah, he has got that mark.
Looked like someone shanked him in the head. I know that's a total different thing. I mean, the fella's a prick anyway, but I do actually think he was an excellent
I love him.
I thought he was a brilliant footballer, and I like his interviews as well.
Yeah,
he's another prick that's got his head so far stuck up his own arse. But he is 10 times better than Carragher, who is just, do you know what? He's one of them people I'd phone up and say, fancy beer, and I'll see you next Thursday. Or Tuesday, whatever suits you. So, bloody mouse going silly there. I haven't recharged it properly there. And it's flashing red in front of me, so I better do this quickly. Brian, where do we find you, mate?
Tottenham on tour. I'll be back tonight with Evening Brews with Amir. It will be at 9 p.m. Sorry, Angus. I know we spoke yesterday. You're going to have to watch Scotland, mute the commentary, and listen to me and Amir. But yeah, we'll be on at 9 p.m. this evening, and back with Morning Brews tomorrow. And Dan, if you're free tomorrow at 9 p.m, or it might be 10 because of Spain, Italy, if you want to come and do Evening Brews with me for an hour, I'd love to have you on.
Yes, send me the message and the link. I'll be watching the England game. The England game tomorrow.
No, England game's at 5 p.m, so we're going to be going at 9 or 10 p.m. We don't know. So
yeah, send me the links to that. That's fine. So everybody, make sure you catch up with Brian and Brian's channel on that. And I don't ask very often for much, but if you give us a like and subscribe on this, it will be appreciated. And I'll also be going on Alan's show tonight, time added on at 6 o'clock. I think I'm on there with him. So, people, me and Brian have fixed the England team, or how you can possibly fix it. And let's just hope Southgate has got the bollocks, or not even the bollocks. Let's just hope he's got the brain to be able to do it. So, people, have a good day, have a good afternoon, have a good night, whatever you're going to do. Watch some football, and we will catch you later. Take care, everyone. And
I would do my normal thing, but as we've just seen and been discussing, something more important than football has been said today. So the most important thing today is, and as always, Angus's dad, keep your health up. That's how we're finishing today.
Well said, Brian. Take care, people.
I'm gonna turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. give it to me like